Okay, well, after hearing skulls, I wrote something out. I think it might be a little bit long, though. Um, anyway, so Wildwind. He was originally supposed to be Wap Thunk, the barbarian, but I noticed we were kind of melee heavy with the party and didn't seem to have a healer, so I figured I'd go for a druid. Yeah, that's worked out very well, as we've seen in the most previous session.
Zot.
Wildwind is a Thestral, for now anyway, with pine green wings, mossy fur, and about chestnut brown hair. It's always some kind of unruly mess. About a full bottle of gel would tame it for maybe a day, but then he'd probably wind up looking like a Saiyan if he doesn't wash it out. He either keeps it short or under a hat or just hidden in some way, shape, or form. The hat seems to have gone missing when he got knocked out the first time by the zombies. He wears a fitted leather vest and leather bracers as well. He's got them stained to match the same color as his wings to theoretically help out with stealth and camouflage, but it doesn't really work. Otherwise, he's carrying just his weapons, a single bandolier, and 2 small pouches, and that's everything that he's got on him. He tries to keep everything minimal. The only other exception is he's got a blanket that he wears as a scarf and a little brooch that he's picked up along the way, pinning that to keep him flying away. His mark itself is a blue lightning bolt over a misty cloud, representing his affinity for weather as well as his specialty with lightning. He's more or less a Pegasus, just with the wrong wings. As a druid, he's a Stormlord, so eventually it'll get to the point that if he gets bored, he can just kind of play with the ambient weather, throw out fog, so on and so forth, and just fly through hurricanes with ease. Assuming I don't kill the party with it first, I will totally be abusing this later on.
Yeah, I was about to say, and you'll just have more ammo to shock us to death with.
Then the party better invest in stuff that resists lightning. That's all I'm saying.
That reminds me, I actually do have resistance to lightning.
Now you mention it.
Hey, give me a break. When was the last time Paul threw elemental damage at us?
He didn't.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I've got resist acid, cold, and electric 5. So next time Arish electrocutes me, remind me.
Okay, I full well plan to. If at any point in time I'm keeping watch and I need to wake you up, I'm using my lightning jolt to do so, because I know at most it'll do 2 damage to you. Hey, if I can wake you up from 30 feet and get you into the combat faster, it's a better idea.
Or you could, do that anyway, and the sound would wake everyone up. And not do damage to the team. You could do damage to whatever it is that's, attacking us.
Actually, it's a funny thing that you mention that, because he does have a trait that once a day I can actually convert half the damage into sonic damage and make it a thunderclap, so... Yeah, that is actually something I could do.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, boy.
So, for Wild, I've got a journal that I've got him keeping, and he writes in about once a day. At some point, I may let the rest of the party see his notes just to cause a little bit of chaos. For getting his specific views and thoughts on everybody. In the past, way back in the past, he was abandoned into the wilds and taken in by a druid who eventually became his mentor. That didn't last very long. A group of elves came along and killed him, so he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder about elves. That's why constantly, whenever he screws up on a knowledge nature check, he just assumes that it's an awkward version of elves. To him, any elves he sees are essentially kill on sight unless someone in the party stops him. Half-elves get a pass for once. They get 1 chance to prove themselves as not being elven, and otherwise he's usually not very forgiving. More or less, he's self-raised. He's only had about 5 years of exposure to civilization itself. His view of how things work is a little bit warped because of that. When it comes to who he is as a pony, his personality is really based on 3 things: pragmatism, pride, and purpose. This is kind of where he runs into a bit of a problem with Heaven, because being helpful and humble and going out of his way to assist others kind of steps on his toes. So he sees Heaven as kind of crowding in on his turf whenever it comes to looking after kids or cute young girls, which he sees as being completely the same thing, totally. He's a strong believer in the holy trinity of collateral damage, and it's his mission in life, his crusade, if you will, to see that youngsters have a chance to make something of themselves. It's kind of hard to do that if you're dead, so he seeks to protect them. That said, he's got no problem with having a kid hurt themselves to learn a lesson, because, I mean, life's not easy. And plus, when it comes to including young girls in that, young girls tend to have bigger sisters or mothers or so on and so forth, who tend to be rather appreciative of their beloved sibling, child, whatever is saved. So there's that little benefit that he does it too. As for his thoughts on the rest of the party, he sort of looks to Arya as a spunky little sister. She's kind of prone to get herself in trouble, and he kind of wants to be handy to bail herself out if she needs it. Plus, she's the coolest noble he's ever met. Never mind the fact that she's the only one he's ever met, but details. His thoughts on Skull is somewhere between awe and pity. She's like the mama bear of the family with an alcohol problem. When she's focused and working, she's a wonder to behold. When she's not, she's a hazard to be around. Regarding Heaven, if the two of them sort of hashed things out and discussed where both of them work with things, they'd probably work together pretty fine. But in the meantime, he's taking any little chance he can get to snipe and needle at him. My goal with that is to set up just a little bit of tension in the party without being enough that I'd be annoying Neil constantly.
And let's be fair, annoying the paladin is always entertaining.
Well, I mean, if you're playing a character with a chaotic alignment, I'm pretty sure it's part of the job description.
As long as it's not an chaotic evil alignment.
That's true. Personally, though, my thoughts on Heaven, I think he's a pretty good guy. His habit, though, of putting his hoof in his mouth and then trying to use both to cram it in as deep as it'll possibly fit tends to get on Wild's nerves. And that's Wild.
Heaven,